Hello, people of Earth. It's Wednesday night, and you know what that means. Everybody's asking the same question they do at this time, at this hour, on this day, every single week. And that is, hey, did you see this one? Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hey, Did You See This One? We're here, get used to it. This week, we are talking about... What, Steve? Did you have something to say about my intro?
Yeah, you're not allowed to take that saying.
I'm taking it back, buddy. Taking it back for the straights.
For the people who are here.
I don't think we had it first.
No, we created it, you dildo.
Okay, I'm sorry that I said that. Listen, we're talking Krull from 1983.
It is, yeah.
And I want to make an amendment. I guess it's not really an amendment, sort of an explanation. We were supposed to cover this movie for Fan Picks December back in December 2022. But our guest this week, Aaron, give it up for A.A. Ron. He couldn't make it.
Ron.
We couldn't.
I've never heard that joke. I've
never
ever heard it.
Not since Mad TV
yesterday,
1998, and then probably all the way to yesterday. We couldn't get it.
It's
together.
only funny if there are two Aarons and the other one is E-R-I-N, and then you call one double A Ron and the other one Aaron. That's when it gets funny again.
We had that in.
When there's two of them.
We had that in elementary.
We've had that. Yeah, we had lots of Aarons.
So I want to just say that instead of having Aaron on for a just one episode fan pick episode in December, we took the movie he actually requested or suggested, and we made a whole month around it. Now, I don't know if he'll be back next week. We haven't gotten that far. We have to see if he can do one podcast. But we did actually make a whole month for you, and February is called February Adventure Films.
I'm so pumped.
That's what it's called?
Not February Fantasy?
Was it February
That actually
Fantasy?
sounds a lot better. I think we're going to go with that. Yeah, February Fantasy.
Or the Adventure of February.
The Adventure of February. We're live. We're figuring it out live here on the show.
The Fantastical Fantasy February Funzaganza.
Yeah, write that down because I like long names. Last month, Aaron, we called it was John Carpenter Presents January Year 2 was the name of the month because it was the second year.
Yes. Okay.
That said,
very clinical.
Year
Year 2.
Yeah, 2. It's like Batman.
There was a colon there and everything.
It's like when Batman started to learn how to crime fight and not be a little bitch.
Learn how to bat, man.
So
Aaron, thank you for coming on. I understand.
Thank you for having me.
It's
fun.
This is your first podcast ever.
That's the first time I've really spoken to people for more than 5-10 minutes. So.
Man, you're going to get so many followers after this?
I don't have anything to follow me on.
Your DMs are going to blow up.
Your DMs are going to blow up.
There are going to be people literally following you around on the street.
I'm in the middle of nowhere, so I welcome the company.
Oh, where there's a will, there's a way, my friend. And as always, I'm your host this week, Jason Phillips, and I'm joined by my two co-hostiest co-hosts in the universe, Kaylin the K-Man. Nope, doesn't start with a K. And Steve the Sleeve from the Sleeve World.
I'm from Sleeve World, and there are no sleeves there anymore. They're all gone now.
What happened?
We lost them in the Sleeve War.
Do pant legs count?
Those are not sleeves. Those are
leg sleeves. Leg sleeves. Tell me you know the history of pants, and you know that they're just sleeves.
When we kill our enemies, we take their pant legs and wear them as sleeves. Replace the sleeves that were lost in the Sleeve War.
That's pure efficiency.
All right, no,
so
this is a stupid bit. I don't like it.
Your D&D is coming through a little bit, where you just
how far will we go? Yeah.
So yeah, I gave.
Wait. Cleveland. Continue.
Sleveland.
Oh God, no. Sleveland sunk to the bottom of the ocean.
I keep setting him off.
It's gonna go on and on now.
Yeah. Okay.
I gotta shut this fireplace off. It's hot here.
He's gonna die. I would like to. This is going to be an unorthodox episode because people who haven't done the podcasting before are learning on the fly, and also
no idea what I'm doing.
Also, Kalen's learning on the fly, so we're all learning together.
He's wearing a suit,
but he's wearing a goddamn suit this week. That's straight out of pocket. You know that he's a stand-up.
I'm trying to hide the fact that I'm still learning by making it look like.
I thought you were going to say that I'm not wearing pants. But
here's the thing about Kalen compared to me, who's been podcasting for 8 years, and Steve, who's just the talent. Kalen actually does stand up and is an actor, I guess, officially now.
Background.
Yeah. So we all bring what we bring to the podcast. So I'd like to thank you, Aaron, for being on, and that's our show for tonight. So we'll see you next week.
It was a lot of fun.
Yes, we are talking about the 1982 fantasy adventure film Krull. 1983?
Yes.
83.
83.
Son of a bitch.
Aaron, did you pick this one?
I did. It's one of my absolute terrible favorites. Well, I will not lie.
Let's do this. We start off every show with giving a little bit of background about our history. A background about our history. That's redundant. About the film we're doing. Normally, I like to start with myself because I am selfish. But you know what? I think for once, I'm going to let the guest go first. Why don't you tell us a little history about your history? Fuck, why do I keep doing that?
Give us some history about your history.
I've been doing podcasting for a decade, and I'm hitting you with that nonsense. Why don't you hit us with a little bit of your background on the film Krull from 1983?
Well, it all started when my parents figured out how to steal satellite dish signals when we were young. And so as a very, very young man, I had access to all kinds of crazy science fiction movie channels. And I saw Krull when I was 7, and then saw it 400 more times up until now. So it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
So
oh, wow. This is the first time a guest has come on to be like, fuck this movie.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. I actually just watched it again last night, and it holds up.
It does hold up.
It holds up as a bad movie.
The
thing about, we'll get into it, but the thing about it is we had Ben on for the whole month for
the hair. I watched some. He's got incredible hair.
Great hair.
We brought him on to talk about Escape from New York, LA, and the unofficial third one, Escape from Mars, aka Ghost of Mars, and he loved each movie less and less as we went on. But he actually picked Escape from New York as his movie that he picked, and he unironically loves that movie. And we sat here and ripped it to shreds. And I went back and edited the episode because we had some technical difficulties we had to edit out.
Technically, we had technical difficulties.
And I had to rewatch that footage, and I saw the soul leave his body a couple times. He was watching in third person a couple times and just being like, why am I doing... he's got a podcast that's more successful than ours. It's basically the same idea. It seems like I stole the idea from them. It's called... I didn't.
Coincidentally enough, we didn't.
No.
Yeah, we didn't steal the idea of talking about movies on a podcast from him. We did not.
This is 100% original idea.
Yeah, talking about movies on a Zoom call at fucking 10 o'clock at night while having a beer with your friends.
It's
for that.
I came up with that. Actually, Kalen was the idea man on this show, so you can thank him.
And I perfected it.
And Steve made fun of Jaws live on the air. Anyway, my point is you are legitimately the first person. You're now our fourth different guest, and you're the fourth person to come on with the love-hate relationship for your movie. So that being said, was there anything else about your history with the movie you wanted to say?
I'd like to hear your opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's move it on to, because mine's a little bit long-winded. Let's hear from Steve next. See what Steve...
Oh, me. Okay. So I've always known about this movie. I've seen clips, screenshots. parodies even of Krull, but I had never actually watched Krull.
Oh, what a treat for you this has been.
It was such a treat. I cannot tell you how excited I was when I put it on for the first time 2 weeks ago. We took a week off last week, but I just decided like, I'll watch Krull. It was on sale for $1 on my Xbox. So I was like, I'll buy it and watch it right now.
Worth it. And
I did. And when I saw the credits coming up, I was like, don't know who that is. Liam Neeson. Robbie Coltrane. Hold on a minute.
Right?
This movie's stacked.
Yeah. All-star cast. Don't forget Alan Armstrong. He's in everything.
Alan Armstrong.
David Battley.
Yes.
The teacher, Charlie Bucket's teacher from the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie.
Isn't that crazy?
I was excited. And then it started happening, and I was like, oh, okay. Yes, I see. This was directed by a man who was old, very old in the 80s. And he's making this movie like an old man would make a movie.
And he had to take a vacation halfway through.
He's like, this is too stressful. These nerds, they keep writing me letters about Krull. But, you know, I'll say that my first watch was fine. My second watch was better, which I watched it again just to, refresh for the talk today. But that was the first time I watched it, was 2 weeks ago. It was one of those things where I knew the poster. Like as soon as Jason was like Krull, I was like, yeah, he's holding some sort of fucking starfish and there's a bunch of lights coming out of it and there's like a big weird castle with a face in the background. It looks like He-Man. And I knew what he was talking about. And then I looked up the trailer and I was like, I think I've seen this. But then while watching it, I was like, I've never fucking seen this ever. But yeah, my first time watching it was 2 weeks ago. And I'll wait to extrapolate on my experience until we get a little bit deeper.
When you're 7, these special effects, they blow your mind.
Yeah, that is part of the...
And when you're in your 30s, they just blow.
That's part of the conversation about a lot of these movies that happens. When we did Big Trouble in Little China, I said very much so that the special effects are kind of lame. The practical effects are great, but the special effect parts, like the rear
it's more
stuff.
This era, it's more the digital effects that suck. The practical effects are always great, no matter where you are, when you are. It's like, oh yeah, that's a Rubber Man. I love Rubber Man. Rubber Man is good, but like Rubber Man projected onto the rear of like a flaming horse, not good.
The thing that we kind of figured
Rubber Man look bad
is like these movies hold a special place if you see them age appropriately, and that's why Ben loves Halloween, which I don't care for, and he loves Escape from New York, which we, like I said, we all ripped apart. And then none of us were like age appropriate really, or we were like too old for the bullshit in '96 for Escape from LA, and we were all above it then, and we were all above it trying to rewatch it in our 30s.
I loved it, and still to this day love Escape from LA,
and that's fine
because it is.
I think there are there's two camps you can live in, right? Or I guess the third one, which is like the Outlands.
It's
just like, I don't know,
good,
but
bad.
Like, either you love Escape from New York or you love Escape from LA, and there's
LA's better. New York is
but rarely will you find a person that loves both. And then there's like the Outland person who's like, they're both kind of bad. Like, what are you guys talking about? What are you warring over here?
But this movie sort of we'll get into. I feel like we're gonna have lots to say about the fact that you got to watch these movies when you're age appropriate. There's no way to do it now unless you have some sort of like brain time machine. But anyway, we'll get to it. Kaylin, why don't you tell us your history with this film? And I sang film, so you know what that means.
This is a movie.
I'll explain.
Yeah.
Based on your criteria, it's a film. Well, there's that horse chase. You can call those cars, I guess.
Those
or
are
not
like
chase, but
and they also are technically making tiny explosions with their feet.
Okay, I guess
the Magic Clydesdales.
They're called fire mares.
Fire mares.
Sorry, Caleb. Before you go on, what I'll do is I'll just say that I have a criteria where a film has the absence of a high-speed chase and an explosion. I have
the absence.
Yeah, a movie has those two things.
You telling me that all the 5 films are not films.
Somehow this has become like a rule for the entire podcast, which it's not.
Oh, Steve hates it. And I love
steadfast and like fuck you for even.
I do not agree. Yeah, I do not agree.
I love that for you.
Gone in 60 Seconds is not a film. Do you want to fight? Like, are you serious?
It has high-speed
bad
chases.
example.
I did it on purpose for you.
I know. All right, sorry. We should probably stop talking to each other.
Yeah. We're talking over.
No, this is part of the fun. This is what the viewers like.
I don't know what I'm doing, so I could be yelling right now.
The other thing that I do that Steve actually likes is the Home Alone of it all, and this movie gets right to the Home Alone of it all. And the idea is that most movies have like their setup bit of the movie. Sometimes it takes minutes, sometimes it takes the whole first act, but then they get to the thing that you see on the poster. And the Home Alone of it is Home Alone is when he goes and starts making the fucking traps, and then the guys go through the traps. That's the Home Alone of a movie, when they go to the thing that you came to the movie for. It's a pretty simple explanation.
It's a good analogy. I like it. Yeah.
Because this movie, they get to the Home Alone of it almost immediately. Like
some would even say almost too fast. You're like, hold on. Maybe he shouldn't have the glaive already. What the?
It's okay. We can't use it at all for anything, so it's fine.
Yeah, you use it once and it gets stuck in people. Anyway, sorry, Kaylin, you're up, buddy.
Yeah,
you stuff your stories in a sack.
I'll stick my glaive in a fucking nether demon from the Ultimate Wonder Plane.
That was good. That was just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay, talk.
Words. I saw this movie for the first time Monday night, and then I rewatched it again last night. I watched it for the first time just to watch it, just to watch it, take it in, and then I watched it again last night to kind of take some notes on it. I've actually never heard of it, seen it, no recollection of it. There is a part of me that does enjoy seeing movies that I know nothing about, because I do kind of get that initial, awe and wonderment a little bit if it happens. But yeah, that was
that's implying it didn't happen for you. Like it never happened this time.
Well, we'll get into it for sure. But yeah, this week was
some of that scenery is beautiful.
Short and sweet.
Oh, that's you. Okay, well,
we can drink during this.
Yeah, man.
My wife stole my pen. Where's that at right now?
They're gonna say my wife locked the liquor cabinet.
So
she won't watch this.
I have a reveal to you guys that you guys are gonna find so stupid, and Steve's gonna be like, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense." So originally, I wanted, when we were toying with the idea of doing a month based around this movie, I wanted to do big beefy boys, big beefy action boys. And Steve goes, what are you talking about? There's no big... I guess that the main character guy, John... I kept writing him down as John Krull because I fucking never caught his name.
John Krull is hot, but
Leland?
he's not a Schwarzenegger, no.
Ken Marshall?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he is Wonder Bread. He is Wonder Bread.
He's not
pretty
Arnold. And
he's 80s fit. He's 80s fit. He looks like me at 11 years old. Like
I thought
well, what he looks like is like Luke Skywalker halfway to Han Solo with a beard. Like he almost got to Han, but he didn't. And he
took them and kind of squished them.
Yeah, exactly. And then they slapped a little bit of beard on him. Be like, give him some facial hair.
Huge.
How about that chest hair?
It's spray on.
When do I start getting chest hair like that?
Never, you're gonna die. You're gonna die a hairless freak.
So I
feel like you're wearing a sweater under that suit.
I thought in the 1990s and the 1980s there was this comic book character called Krull the Conqueror. Hold on a second.
Okay, cool. Because I was about to correct you.
In my brain, the whole time I was concocting. I was like, we could watch the shitty He-Man. We could watch like Commando and Predator, and we could watch. You know what I mean? And we could watch
The Rundown.
We could watch Conan.
The Rock.
He was listing all these in our chat.
Barbarians.
I was reading them all, being like, "What the fuck are these guys talking about?" And Kaylin's like, "What about The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson?" I'm like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about?"
So what had happened was, I only realized this a couple days ago. Also, so I could have come into this still not knowing this very easily. There was an 80s comic book and a couple movies that do fit the criteria called Krull the Conqueror. Cold.
Yeah, it's a comic.
Yeah, it's a comic, and they made a movie in the early 2000s, and it looks goddamn awful, and I want to watch it real bad.
I didn't know they had a movie.
It's from like 2001 or something. It's got like the guy who
this
plays
is also my
Cull.
job on the podcast is to like identify mistakes, make sure that everybody knows that they're talking bullshit, and then call everybody out on it.
It's got Kevin Sorbo and Tia Carrera. I'm watching it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh God. Aren't they both like semi-canceled now for their views on the world?
Kevin Sorbo definitely is. Tia Carrera, I think, who was like pseudo-canceled like a long time ago, like just for being an idiot. But Kevin Sorbo is like actively anti-vax, like right-wing weirdo.
Yeah, but I mean, there was like a time where anti-vax wasn't that crazy until COVID happened, and then everybody was like, "Now you're insane. If you're anti-vax, you're insane.
How dare you question modern medicine?"
Yeah. You're gonna get the super hit, the COVIDs.
Seriously though, get vaccinated.
But my history basically is, I watched it yesterday. I didn't do the thing that I normally do where I watch it while I'm like the day of, while I'm like working or on my lunch break. Last night I was like, you know what, work's been real busy, I'm gonna watch this fucking movie over here. And you know what, of all the films I've seen, I can definitely not put this in the big beefy boy category, but it's more like a Labyrinth or a Dark Crystal.
Labyrinth, yeah.
And that's the kind of movie it is for me, really, one of those. You know what I mean?
But it's also
a cult classic. Yeah.
Like, it's also beat for beat a Star Wars. Like, it's basically just trying to be a Star Wars.
It came out the same year, and it didn't stand a chance.
I'm gonna get this out of the way real fast because Steve hates it when I do this normally, but I'm gonna throw him a bit.
Apparently,
of a curve.
I hate everything Jason does.
He does hate everything. That's why we're the perfect foil for one another. I'm like Paula Abdul. He's like I'm like Randy Jackson. Kalen's like Paul Abdul, and
I'm Simon. No
Steve
matter what
is
happens,
Simon
I guess.
Cowell. Yeah.
Okay, what are you gonna say?
Listen,
and then I'll be like, oh, terrible, absolutely terrible.
You golden fool. Put your head in some bread. You're an idiot sandwich. I know that's Gordon Ramsay, but it's the same idea. This movie was clearly the inspiration for The Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy 1, and Final Fantasy 2.
Started already.
Japan really went out there and said,
Krull.
Whoa, that is exactly what should be a video game. And then in the year of our Lord 2004, I think, I sent this song to you earlier, Aaron, but there's a song in Final Fantasy 12.
I did listen to it, and
that is literally jacked from one of the parts of the score of this movie, and I'll send it to the chat later.
So Jason was on TikTok while watching the movie, and he heard the sound, and he went,
ding, ding, ding.
Hold on a minute.
Listen,
it's because it's James Horner, though. James Horner is, may he rest in many, many pieces.
Oh my God!
Did he get blown up?
No,
yes,
but
he did get blown up. Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, back. Okay.
Wait, James Horner is dead. Yeah, he is. But he was incredible. So.
And he also died in a crashing his own tiny little plane. So
yeah, he did.
Yeah.
We are in the body of the text now.
Am I not allowed to be? Can I not say terrible things?
You can say terrible
no,
things.
that's the truth, though.
Yeah, it is the truth. Yeah.
But also, he was amazing. Like he
was amazing.
Some of the best music in cinema.
Titanic, man. Like it goes on.
Alien. He was a James Cameron staple for a lot of his movies in the 80s and early 90s.
He absolutely
to the
was.
end of the 90s. Yeah.
I'll give you a rundown of the rules.
Kind of cute.
Men in Black.
Yes.
Yeah.
That song has a banger theme.
I saw a picture of him before he died, obviously, and I was like, you know what? For an older gentleman, I would give him a tiny little smooch. He's a cutie. He's a cute old man.
A little peck.
Little tiny little smooch.
A silver fox.
Basically, the rules are as such: don't be racist, don't be homophobic, don't be transphobic, don't come out with.
I'm the opposite of all those things.
Don't come out.
Wait,
with
are you listing? Just don't be an asshole. Like you just said, don't be an asshole.
I'm giving you the rules for Twitch.
Don't yuck people's yums.
Don't yuck people's yums. Don't pull your nipples out. That's a big one.
That's the perfect statement. Don't yuck people's yums.
Have you never heard
Yeah.
that before?
No,
You can use that.
I live by that, friend.
Yes.
I like it.
But you're allowed to swear, so feel free to swear. Just don't say the N-word, and we're good.
I'm kind of
don't play
polite.
it.
I don't really
Music.
curse too much.
I feel like you're really making it seem like our guest is a horrible person by having to give him these rules.
I know we've never given.
I'm going to try my hardest not to be sexist and racist and transphobic.
Okay, good.
Like,
Jesus Christ.
I was doing a bit. Okay, I know that Aaron is salt of the earth. He's a gentleman and a scholar.
The swell guy.
I basically should have just said you can swear. Just don't.
I'm all right. I
Don't
mean,
say
Give my
Good
regards
choice.
to the fam.
I will. We miss you. We love you. Come for dinner.
Sounds good.
All right, I guess this is the true beginning of the show now that we've all said when we saw it for the first time. So let's start at the beginning. Two nations on a planet, the planet known as Krull, are getting ready for a marriage ceremony. But little do they know, approaching their planet is a giant castle that flies
The
through
beast!
space.
The beast.
I've got a
The
question
Beast's
about
castle.
this.
Yeah.
Do you, okay,
Yeah.
so in the mid '90s, I would go to like yard sales and buy old toys from people's basements.
Yeah.
And there was this playset that I swore was the fucking Black Fortress from this movie.
Are you sure it wasn't the He-Man playset?
It was
It
probably
was
Castle
likely
Grayskull.
Castle
It
Grayskull.
wasn't
I
Castle
had one.
Grayskull.
Yeah,
It looked
yeah.
like a fucking tree that you could open. And
You,
Oh,
whoa!
It was
That's
Castle Tree Skull.
Was it Kevin Costner Robin Hood tree set?
oh,
It might have been.
It might have
Oh
been.
snap! I remember that set.
It might have
That's
been.
crazy.
I was gonna say I
Let's-
looked up Krull toys and I didn't recognize any of them, and they
There were not a lot.
pretty
There were not a
bad.
lot.
Like they were
Yeah,
just the
they
shitty
were.
like Star
I mean,
Wars
this
style
movie
ones,
lost so much money, guys. Like it made no money, and I assume it probably eventually, like 20 years later, finally there was some accountant who was like, "Good news, folks! Krull finally made its money back. Here's a $5 check for everybody involved."
Half of them are dead. Like,
but do you have the information on that, Steve? Because I was curious. This movie is a pretty
So
good-looking movie.
I couldn't find an exact number of what the budget was, but it was somewhere between
30 million.
30 and 45 million is like the number
Yeah.
that I could find, and like it seemed like there were different numbers.
It only made 17 million in box
Yeah.
office.
And what it made was between 15 and 17, and like that is abysmal, right? Like you're like everybody involved is like, oh god, I'm gonna lose my fucking boats. All my boats are
That's
gonna
like
get
a $70 million movie making back like 30 million by today's standards.
Yeah.
Which is pretty fucking gross.
or like Black Adam.
yeah.
You know, it's like Black Adam.
But that was like
There's
that
not
was-
gonna be a
Yeah.
Black Adam 2. Sorry.
Did we not like Black Adam?
I never saw it, but
What?
it didn't make any money, so I assume it's. But no, I'm joking. I just don't care about that movie. I mean, I like that Pierce Brosnan's in it. I kind of want to watch it just for that.
He
alone,
does an
'cause he hasn't
awesome
been in
job.
anything in a while, and
He does an awesome
as
job.
somebody who saw the movie, Steve, I will
I saw it
say,
in theaters.
that's
like-
just it. Everybody was like, see this movie in theaters. I
You
was
have
like,
to. Boom,
Nah,
big,
it'll be
it's
fine.
huge.
I like superhero dumb movies anyway. And then I didn't care for the movie. And then I saw Avatar in theaters. And I was like, if I hadn't seen this fucking Avatar movie in theaters, I would feel the same way I felt after Black Adam, where I was like, I should have seen that thing in theaters.
Yeah.
So the moral of the story is,
Jason was like masturbating all over the bar. We went to the bar afterwards, and Jason just couldn't stop masturbating. And I was like, Jason, you have to stop. You have to stop doing this. You're gonna throw us out. And Jason was like,
At least take it
No.
to the bathroom.
No,
Stop.
Avatar 2 is amazing. And I was like, stop it.
these are half truths.
So I should go see it, is what you're telling me.
You should see it specifically in high frame rate.
Okay.
That blew
And
my
I will
fucking-
say you shouldn't.
blew my fucking mind.
I'm gonna give you guys the truth. That's something I haven't even told Jason yet. There was a point about 25 minutes into the movie where I thought to myself, would it be very rude of me to stand up and tell my friend, one of my best friends, Jason, one of my best friends, Cam, I have to leave because the frame rate is hurting my brain.
yes.
I can't be here anymore.
Right,
I have
forgot
to
that
leave.
You had the exact opposite where the frame rate was like broke your brain. Kaylin,
You guys both wear glasses.
Yeah, James Cameron is perfection, and you need to get your eyes fixed.
I had 3D glasses on over my glasses, and I loved it. It felt like I was in VR sometimes.
I also have a lazy eye, which like disrupts the 3D, which was already an issue, and then on top of that was the frame rate, and I was like,
you should have seen it in
started
Screen X.
foaming of the mouth, thing, like there's something wrong with me. I gotta get out of here.
Screen X.
I would have preferred to see it just raw dog it with no glasses, nothing, just a movie.
Christ. I've never heard somebody saying going to a movie in non 3D as raw dog.
When I go into a grocery store without a mask on, I say I'm raw dog.
Raw dog Jurassic Park right now.
I'm gonna go raw dog the air in that fucking liquor store right now, boys. Ferta.
Is there air in Toronto that you can breathe?
No. You know, you were here in the summer.
So many dispensaries. What a wonderful place. I had a blast.
One in every corner.
But I mean, the only thing I recommend to visitors is never raw dog the air in Toronto.
Yeah.
Remember that guy? You remember that completely naked man just up and down the street when we were in Chinatown?
Jason is thinking to himself, which one? Because that happens a lot.
He looked like a surfer.
This was actually different than the normal guy with his dick out thing. This was just a dude walking up and down Queen Street, like over by where like all the stores are, like all the shopping on Queen is, but after the McDonald's at Spadina.
You know, Queen runs all the way across Toronto.
Listen,
give me another intersection.
The shopping, Spadina area.
Okay.
There was a building.
There was buildings. This dude was head to toe naked. He had the beard and facial hair of a caveman.
Nice.
He had a giant rod on him, and he was just throwing things around.
Is that code for boner?
Well, I didn't look directly.
No, it was flopping. It was flopping.
It was soft, but it was also in charge of the situation.
Yeah. He was a shower and a grower.
It was the middle of the day, yes?
Middle of the day. He was on drugs, and I felt really bad for him.
We were going to the fucking Jacob's a shoehead, so we were going to the Nike shop. Aaron was just trying to find the next dispensary so he could re-up his epic high.
Jacob's a sneakerhead?
Jacob is. He is. Yeah.
He's looking for Yeezys.
He's a lot more quiet about it now that Kanye/Ye has,
fucking
just spiraling.
Started playing Yahtzee over and over again and not stopping.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Let's get back onto the topic of Krull.
That's the thing we say. Rails.
Yeah.
Off the rail.
So
tell me more about trains.
Yeah. A giant castle is floating toward, or not, you don't know it's a castle, but I also get on Jason's case about saying that things rip other things off a lot. Like he's like, this was ripped off from this was ripped off from that, and I'm like, stop. It's called homage. Sometimes things are not ripped off, but this movie is directly ripping off the intro to Star Wars. There's no way to like get around. Like Spaceballs
actually paying homage to Star Wars.
All right, I get what you're doing, but shut up for a second. Spaceballs literally did the same thing before this movie as a joke, doing like the extended sequence of a ship moving past the screen for.
I think you have that backwards. Star Wars ripped off Spaceballs.
Oh,
yeah, definitely. Mel Brooks actually came up with Spaceballs, and then George Lucas was like, "Man, I love that."
They were hanging out. Banging rails off the rails,
and then
he saw that scene. He saw the scene where the yogurt is going, Spaceballs the lunchbox, Spaceballs the T-shirt, Spaceballs the flamethrower, and George Lucas was like, "Oh my god,
I'm gonna be rich.
I could make a lot of money off of Star Wars."
And then it turned out that Mel Brooks was actually inspired by Akira Kurosawa and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
We have to stop this. This is like a never-ending bit of an episode so far. We have to start actually talking about the movie, guys.
This might be one of our best episodes yet.
Oh.
I'm just happy to be here. Krull.
Okay, so the movie begins. We see this rock going towards a planet, and then we're introduced by a narrator saying a bunch of mumbo jumbo about these two nations joining together by the marriage of a prince and a princess,
just like in real life.
But he also mentions, like, as though it's the grandest statement that, and their son will be the ruler of the galaxy. And you're like, what the fuck? How do they know that?
Like, and Freddie Jones could read the back of a cereal box and it would sound good.
Yes. Very good narrator, but also like the information you're given is like, that seems problematic. Like, they know that. They're like, if we join our two nations, then one day our grandchild will rule the galaxy.
It's the worst prophecy I've ever heard in my life.
I kept thinking about how, like, they know all this information based on prophecy, and they just have to get rid of the Slayers.
Well, there's a lot of magic in this world, and as we get into it, like, everything is magical. Like, every single thing that happens is
like, their
magic.
swords that are not lightsabers.
That
two suns, one shadow.
They are lightsabers.
Not lightsabers.
No, they're light darts, light spears, light harpoons.
Did they steal the sound bite from Star Wars for that?
A couple of them, maybe. They're very similar for sure.
Well, when they hit when they hit walls, they make, like, when like in old war movies when there's like the ricochet sound.
So the thing about sound is that every movie production studio has its own sound library, but then Lucas Film has its massive sound library that it has, like, a pay-in that you can buy into in order to use that sound library. Yeah. So you hear sound effects all the time in tons of different movies. If you watch anything by Spielberg, if you listen with, like, a fine-tuned ear, you can hear Star Wars sound effects everywhere, and it's because Star Wars sound effects are so iconic in a lot of ways that the sound of the Millennium Falcon be like when it's, like, trying to start up, and, like, you can hear that across, like, every Spielberg movie.
Or the Wilhelm scream, which actually had Wilhelm in the second Star Wars, and he dies and falls off a thing, and he imitates his own Wilhelm scream
on the bridge in this one.
Yeah, his name is
Fortress.
His name's Brent Burke. He's the sound designer. He used it as a joke, and he put it into all the Star Wars movies. And then when he dies, he falls off and does the imitation of it, and he does a pretty good job.
He does. I loved it.
But that's also in, like,
that's
every
the Wilhelm scream.
Wilhelm. Also, Wilhelm is technically a correct pronunciation.
Wilhelm. Because my last name is
Guten Tag.
Because my last name is Phillips. So
Sprechen Sie Dick.
Jesus.
Oh God. So they realize that they have to get married, or not? They don't realize, but the two kings are like, well, I don't know if I agree about this marriage between my prince and that princess. So, and, like, the princess, horribly dubbed, by the way. What the fuck is going on?
Well, she sounded too young. She was 17, right? And so they got, like, some 38-year-old to just voice over.
But she was also British. Like, the original actor was British, and they didn't, for some reason, the studio was like, people think British people are evil, so we gotta.
They're always the bad guys.
Seen Star Wars?
Yeah, they're always.
Everybody's like, you may fire when ready. So we gotta make her American. Yeah. So I don't know which was which. I don't know if it's that she sounded too young or that she sounded too British, but they replaced her in order to.
They wanted a more mature sounding voice. She was 17. She sounded like a kid, right? Yeah.
But they probably also wanted to make it more palatable for American audiences, because they're like, that's what the money is. But little do they know, it's like, no, we should have made her have a, like, Asian accent. That's where the money is.
Did Lysette Anthony go on to do anything else? I'm looking at her IMDb because I was curious about her, because she has a face that seems like she should have become, like,
just a bunch of terrible British TV,
like just a heartthrob kind of character,
a bunch of BBCs,
like a Phoebe. What's her face? But
Phoebe, what's her face?
Oh, she was in Look Who's Talking Now. I didn't know that. Yeah,
hey, that's a good movie.
That is a good movie. Let's do all the Look Who's Talking.
She's still working to this day.
It's true. She's on some show. Doctors. Must be British.
Again, she was only 17, so she's just like a normal adult.
Yeah.
But
yeah, very very pretty,
now.
but at the same time, I don't know. Like, I would be interested to hear what her original voice sounded like. Imagine she was like, "Oh yeah, if I get it, we all get married then. Is that right? What?"
Like
Maybe
Adele.
She sounded terrible. You never know.
Like when Adele sings, she's like a songstress of her generation, and when she talks, she's like, "Dana, Roy, I was in the club. I was in the pub then, yeah."
Adele is fucking amazing. You do not bring blasphemy to her name.
I did it. That's what she said. She's got fucking Cockney accent, bro.
I'm not big on the Adele. I'm not.
I think Adele's fine. I also am like,
she's fine.
it doesn't really matter because this character is only really predominant in this first scene and the end scene, and then there's like sprinklings of stuff throughout where she's just like
just confused in an eye or in a mouth.
Where Krull is like, I can take any form I please.
I thought
And like
Krull
you're
was
just
the
like,
name of the planet.
He's the beast.
I'm gonna call the alien Krull because
he is
why
the beast.
Yeah, the beast.
I thought the main character's name was John Krull.
Yeah, his name's the Beast. He's made up of 26 different personalities. One of them all played by James McAvoy.
Wait a second.
No,
also, movie title shout out: 4 minutes 30 seconds.
Oh, sweet.
What does that mean?
4 minutes?
The
not immediately where they're like, "Welcome to the planet Krull." And you're like, "Oh."
It was when they were doing that little. So the intro of the planet castle thing was forever, and then they do that little kind of what's it called when you explain what happens?
Expository
preamble.
Yeah, exposition. Yeah. They do the little exposition thing, and they say some Krull, some 4 minutes 30 seconds.
All right. Well, I always believe you, Kaylin, because I don't look for it myself. You know what I did look for though? How many travel sequences there were of them, like dun 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 dun. Like,
so you got to pay for those Clydesdales, man.
I actually
I marked it, but we'll talk about it later. But I marked it.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so the two royal families come together and they meet in this giant styrofoam castle, and they decide, like, this is fine, I guess. The king who's not really okay with it, and then the other king comes in and be like, my son's here to marry your daughter, and the son is like, and it's like his teeth are glistening or whatever. You're like, okay, so this is, but then you have a little moment where the two of them get together and you're like, do they know each other? I thought this was like a weird arranged marriage, but apparently they're already in love. Okay, that's kind of cool.
They have close by summer homes, they're mega wealthy.
Yeah. And at this point I'm starting to realize, like, this isn't just a fantasy. This is a science fantasy. It's like a Star Wars where like the guards don't have like big clunky chainmail armor and stuff. They have like weird, sleek, polished red, like crimson armor. I'm like, ooh,
Space
Final
opera.
Fantasy.
This is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Also, Return of the Jedi came out the same year. They had some pretty cool polished red armored guys in that as well. And they have their ceremony, and the ceremony in theory is kind of cool. I like it, but in terms
the fire
of
thing,
I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's cool.
They don't even really tell you how important it is, like it gives them.
Well, it's basically
powers.
like, it's like proof that your hearts are literally entwined with like the fire of love. Like if you were to put your hand into that fire, into that water after the fire has been put out, you would pull your hand out and no fire would come out. That's what I assume would happen, right? If you didn't feel the true love.
What would happen if you stuck your hand in straight up lava, though?
It's fine, and he holds it there. I think he'd be like snatch, but it's.
Let's deal with this one magical moment before we leap to another magical moment.
It's the rock climbing that gets me. The free climbing they all do is so.
But he also the actor did all that himself.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
All of it. He actually earns a small amount of respect in his stunts because he does them all.
So, like, in the ceremony, he has a torch and he puts it into basically like a well of water. But it's like this very ceremonious looking well in a huge, white pearly room with a million people watching. And he says something like, I place fire to water and give my heart's fire to the one that I would have as my true love. And then she says, I take fire from water only for the one that my heart feels fire for. It's some shit like that. I don't know. And then
that was verbatim.
And then she pulls her hand out, and her hand like has a big flame in it, and everybody's like, "Oh shit!" Like it's just like a proof that their love is real, I guess.
You can add fire later, right? If I'm like,
yeah,
we'll fix it in post.
Fix it in post.
Yeah, we have a guy in a chair.
Yeah, good.
a lot of people, I would assume, would probably get like too logistic on, like ask too many questions about it. But like that's the kind of representation of like magic that I think is cool, where it's like only if this one thing is sealed does this magic work, and if it isn't sealed, then the magic doesn't work. The thing that fails for me is that like you don't get an example of that not working, right? So like you don't know that doesn't just happen every time. I guess.
Just skeleton hand comes up.
Yeah, like
You are not destined to be together.
Yeah.
In fact, I steal your souls.
or just
melts.
like,
Face
even
melts.
just like the hand coming up and the fire not being there. Like she like goes.
Or
and
it's like
gets
green
really
fire, like ooh, green bad.
Yeah, ugh, gross.
Ugh.
And it
So
smells
you're
like
saying you want to
burning
see
garbage.
an unworthy
It's like,
candidate
ugh.
first? Is that what you're saying?
This smells like burnt hair. But you know, it's cool. I like it. I think that's pretty cool, and it gave me like, an idea of how the world works. It's like one thing that I really enjoyed about this movie is the lore that they attempted to build into the storytelling.
They don't talk about it at all, and there's so much magic, you know. So
Yeah.
it's just
and that's
plain
like
as
Star
day.
Wars, right? Like
Yeah.
the original Star Wars, the 77 Star Wars, like they do that a lot, and like
Yeah.
you're left wanting to understand more, and that's something that I think works. There's a ton of examples in this movie of how, because they keep doing it over and over
Yeah,
again. You're
just-
like, all right, there are too many magics.
Yeah,
I need to know.
plain as day magic. Like
What
everybody
is
knows.
Ergo? Is he a wizard? Is he a druid? Is he a shapeshifter?
He's a
He's
trickster.
the magnificent. So that's magnificent.
Sorry,
What were you
Jason.
gonna say?
I forgot that you're supposed to be leading this, and
No,
I'm
it's fine.
kinda,
I
like,
wasn't gonna
trampling on your toes here.
do plot and order, and you took the reins on that, and it's all good in the hood. What were you gonna
Well,
say?
I just thought
Colwyn?
it was important to get that chunk out of the way because it's the quest beginning. You know.
I agree. I love the magic aspect.
Now we're into the Home Alone of it.
I'm gonna say some. Princess Bride.
Yeah, that's fits
The
in
rats. Yeah.
fits in this whole. Although that of the movies I mentioned at the top of the show that I haven't seen The Princess Bride since I was literally like too young to remember things. Like I haven't read.
Oh, you gotta
Really?
watch that again.
Wow,
I've
Yeah.
seen
that's one.
it. I've seen it a
that's
few
one-
times, but I haven't seen it like since my brain fully formed. You know what I mean? Like it was always
right.
on when I
Well,
was a kid.
Jason, that's one that you should probably watch again as an adult because it's still good.
I
Like
do-
it's
That
still-
is a film.
I do love Andre the Giant.
Anybody want a peanut?
I have a question about scenery and backdrops and shit in this before I forget.
Sure, yeah.
23 different stages.
Well,
Just throwing that out there.
the part specifically 20. Wow,
23.
because there
Isn't
was
that
a lot
Yeah.
that was clearly
The
like,
007 man, the big dog, back then especially.
there's a lot that's clearly on sound stages, like the swamp, like any like foresty stuff. Well, some forest stuff, like obviously inside the fortress, but the mountain part, really, I couldn't figure out where it ended.
They're in England or something. They're in the UK somewhere.
Okay, so
Rolling
Yeah.
hills.
Yeah.
So there's that scene where he's running across a ridge between two like giant pillars, and then the background is just beautiful.
Yeah. How'd they get that shot?
How'd they
That's
get
what
that
I want to
shot
know.
in
How did they?
1981.
That's what I'm saying. Did they have a helicopter? Like, was it the whole budget for this movie to get that one shot?
I did
Like,
watch it in 1080p, so like it has been touched up many times over the years. So
Looks
it
great.
pops.
yeah.
It does look beautiful. The
But
It does.
I
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
figure out if it was like enhanced. It wasn't a matte painting, definitely not. But I couldn't figure out if it was enhanced by like a picture in the
Oh
background.
no, he's walking across that. That's,
Yeah, I
he's
think
there.
I've said this before, but like film, if you have the original print and you can, clean it, it's like the best form of
Crisp.
photography. It's the best form of photography. Any digital film is, I mean, it's getting better and better every year, but film.
The only reason
is
it
still
looks
the
bad is
best.
because of compression. Yeah, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
only reason-
and the problem
yeah.
now with digital film, I find that the CGI almost feels like a different like layer. Like it's
Yeah.
like it doesn't melt into the background like it did when you watched it on an old like 480p fucking TV or the shitty old projectors in theaters. Now that we have the
I mean, the way to think about it
HD
is like,
projectors, it's
imagine I drew a line with a pencil, and then imagine I drew a line digitally. You zoom
What about
in.
a pen?
All right, fine. Replace the pencil with a pen.
What about
No.
marker?
What about replace the digital with a pen?
No,
no, that's the
digital
same
is
as the
point
pencil
of the
in
analogy.
this analogy.
Dildo. Okay, so imagine I draw a line with a pen and I draw a line with a digital pen. I zoom in on the pen, keep zooming in, keep zooming in, keep zooming in until I get to the roughness of the paper. That line is going to be straight, but I'll already have met a point where digital degradation is apparent, pixelation on that digital line, right? Like that's what digital versus like analog is, and that's what film is. You're burning an image onto a chemical, so it's creating a sharp line. It's not creating a digital representation.
It's not made of cubes, man. It's not made of cubes.
It's not cubes, man. It's like a line burned in acid.
It's exactly what it is.
Wow. That you gave us
So
a pretty
flammable.
good. That's a deep lesson for fucking.
And that's the history of film.
10:30 at night.
It's
Fantastic.
11, so I'm in the future.
Yeah, you've answered my question. I do feel like this movie should have been part of my childhood because of these things. I don't get how some movies like stick with us and then some movies just. I'm sure I saw this movie. It's almost impossible. There were 17 movies in 1983. You know what I mean?
How many times can we watch Suburban Commando?
How many times can we watch? No, how many times can we watch
Basketball.
Ninja Turtles 1? Right?
No,
but then watch
Turtles.
But have the
Batman.
previews. Have the
Who Framed
previews-
Roger Rabbit?
The previews before Ninja Turtles, and in your head, it's like, yeah, I've seen those movies. I've seen Suburban Commando. Then you watch Suburban Commando.
New Line Cinema comes up.
Yep, and
What's
then
your movie, right? Yeah.
And but then you actually watch Suburban Commando in the '90s, late '90s, as a teenager, and you're like, what the fuck is this?
It was all right.
It was fine. I was frozen today.
Maybe let's talk about Krull because I don't know.
Yeah,
What the fuck
I don't
he's
know.
talking about.
How did we get here?
How about the fact that it's called the Glaive when it is not, in fact,
No,
a glaive?
A glaive is like a small sword.
No, a glaive is a small sword on the end of a pole arm. That's what a glaive is.
Right.
It's like a spear, but
Like a spear.
Instead of it being a spear, it's like a sword on the end, and you use it like a fucking axe, but at a distance. That's what a glaive is. And
Just ceremonial.
The reason I know this is
Dang.
because I've memorized every medieval weapon ever made. I'm just kidding. I haven't yet. But I do find it annoying that they called it a glaive instead of just coming up with like that could have been what the Krull that could have been
Maybe
Krull.
it's Krull.
The
Yeah.
Krull Star. Krull
Why not
Star.
call the planet Pistifer, and then that is the fucking glaive? Or call the why the
Planet
fuck call it
Glaive.
He comes up with
Yeah.
Pistifer, and the next thing I say he's going to say is stupid. So we get through the scene. So he goes on his adventure. The Slayers attack. They fuck everything up. He gets stabbed. This old man.
I have a quick question about that. Do you think the horses had a hard time walking on when the doors get busted down and then the horses bust in and the doors are kind of like unstable, wobbly? Like, do you think horses have good like center of balance or whatever?
Yes, and
I have an even bigger question. Where did they get all of those horses? Because they had them the minute they landed.
Probably
So-
from a farm.
Ooh, touche.
like
space horse.
space horses.
One of the unfortunate realities of like Hollywood up to a certain point is that they like animals didn't really have rights on sets. They would just bring them there and
Oh,
like
the
make
part with
them
the
work
Clydesdales
until.
or the fire mares was.
Well,
kind of
actually,
gross.
I looked into that a little bit because I wanted to know how they accomplished it, and it wasn't as bad as I thought. I thought
No,
it was
they were well trained actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
did they light these horses' feet on fire?
Okay.
Are they really flying? Like how did they
Did they throw horses across this canyon?
like a catapult?
With
Horse
a cat.
But
Trebuchet?
yeah, they had trained horses to run on treadmills to do it. But the one thing that like caught my attention was like when it does the close up kind of low angle of the feet moving, there's flame that's coming across the screen, but also it looks like it's going from underneath the hooves.
Yeah.
And like that was the one effect that I was like, how the fuck did they do that? Because it looked real. I was like, did they make these horses run on fire? Did they put fire
Well,
in these
horses-
horses?
Those are probably fire retardant.
They didn't do it, by the way. Just they did not light fire.
They're
on
very
fire.
expensive Clydesdales.
Yeah,
They
to
did not
the-
set them on fire. Like, yeah.
So this man comes and he's sort of like, if you there's a danger out there, you're gonna have to get the old fucking boomerang.
Yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi shows up, whose name is Eve Ynir.
Yeah, okay, that's Ynir. So he comes.
That's Freddie Jones, the
he's
old one.
He's basically like, let's get it going, but first we have to go do the first dungeon. It's the fire dungeon, and you have to get the boomerang,
which is usually like the third dungeon in most things.
Like this mystical weapon, but he gets it. Like it wasn't hard for him to,
he barely,
to go get that.
The climbing was the hard part, and the
this
part.
Is my the first travel. This is my This is my first travel tick where I'm like, oh, traveling across the and then him climbing the.
How can we kill 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Peter Jackson was like, you know what I'll do? I'll just make Krull put the Lords of the Ring in it.
Yeah, where he's like, we've got to go and get you the Glaive of Krull. And so, they go. And he gets
an ancient weapon. It's just a myth.
He doesn't even have to fight like a snake or anything.
He doesn't.
Like, what the fuck?
Well, that's what I was wondering about. He doesn't. He does battle an element that's in Zelda. Every Zelda game has a rock that comes down and tries to take you out. He does deal with those the landslide rocks.
Oh, the landslide, yeah.
From Zelda.
Oh man, some of those are flying at you, and he's just so calm. Like that would just that would brain you. Like that would be the end of your day. Like
I think that I forgot that happened because I'm so desensitized to like action now that a rock falling is like an inconvenience and not an action.
And there's no like logic behind it. It's just shit, rocks are falling.
Rocks are falling. Yeah.
And then they stop. It's fine.
But also, doesn't the old man kind of get all the way up there too? He's like, good work.
No, he waits. He has a little fire. He's chilling.
But then we get a 19-minute montage of him climbing this climbing this mountain.
Because he did it. Ken Marshall free-climbed that in costume.
They wanted to showcase it. Awesome. Yeah.
Apparently, the sword got stuck, and he almost fell a couple times.
Oh, a couple times.
Yeah.
I think after the first time, they'd be like, "Cut, no more.
Take the sword off.
If you fall, this movie's fucked."
He's like,
"No, I can do it. We do not care about you. You're not."
Maybe they filmed. Maybe they shot that first, and they're like, "Who cares if he falls? We'll just get the other guy."
Right? Nobody cares about Ken Marshall.
So my main gripe with this is that he gets the glaive too early. Like he gets it way too early in the movie,
and it's very easy.
He gets it, and like he puts his hand into lava, which is like, okay, magic again. Pulls it out. It's covered in like brownie mix or whatever, and it all falls off to reveal the glaive underneath it.
So shiny.
I'm like, oh man, this is like Luke getting his lightsaber.
It was a switchblade glaive.
Also, that part made me laugh. Like I laughed out loud when he goes like, and it goes.
What about?
I didn't laugh out loud, but I did say, "Oh man, good thing he didn't have that pointed at his like jugular or like his wrist or something. Like just cuts his whole arm open.
Where he's looking at it real close and it just fucking blinds him.
Or he like looks into it like an idiot into his eyeball. Okay, so he got it too early, and then he doesn't use it until the last sequence, right? Like that's a whole movie of him not using the fucking glaive.
He could have literally defeated everybody instantly the entire movie. It would have been pointless.
Yeah, and the reason that it's annoying is because he goes down and talks to Evir and is like, "So I got it," and he says, "Okay, but you can't use it ever until you know when you really need to use it.
Never.
And he's like, "Well, how will I know when to use it? You'll know."
No, you'll know.
Okay, but when?
Final boss.
No, you'll know. And
the director is going to say, "Hey,
pull that out."
The whole movie, I'm like, now, use it now. Like I would use it now if I had it. I'd be like, use it.
Like, here come all these slayers.
It was like a one-time use thing, and then it like, I don't know, deteriorates or something. But like when he does use it, he uses it a bunch. I'm like, why couldn't he just use it from the get-go?
He uses it all through the final dungeon.
Boomerang master too, like just nobody questions that. Like
this is another like Star Wars thing where Jason, I hate saying like they ripped it off, but like this is like they show Star Wars, they show him pull the lightsaber out, and you know he trains with it a little bit, and Obi-Wan's like it's an elegant weapon from a more civilized age or whatever. It's not as clumsy or random as a blaster. And like he
the
never
Youngling Slayer 9000,
but you know that it's yeah, you know that it's powerful, but he never uses it. And in this movie, this guy's got this glaive in his back pocket.
The ultimate weapon.
And Luke never faces anything like this guy faces throughout his journey. You know, he's dealing with all sorts of crazy spiders and shit.
But he's got companions to lose.
That's true.
Keep checking them off the list as they go.
Yeah. He has a list of companions like, oh my god, I've already lost 7 men.
Oh shit, was that the Emerald Seer? Oh,
he loses a guy in like every fucking scene once he gets
or
the
multiple,
banded army. Yeah.
And he's fine. Like, he doesn't know these people.
Right.
Also, those criminals were lying. They said there was 100 men there. There's like 5 of them.
There were 10.
Where's the other 95?
I think that was a little bit of a trick.
Yeah, they were just trying to rob them, but also maybe they have the spirit of 1,000 men or whatever.
It's all the wives they have back home because they're all like polygamous.
That's true.
But Liam Neeson?
Liam Neeson.
8 wives.
Polyamorous.
Looks her right in the eye and says, I promise to be true to you, darling.
And to you, and you, and you.
She doesn't even hold a pedal. What is it? She's not as pretty as
I don't know if I would consider his character polyamorous. I think he was just a filthy man.
He was a pirate.
Had a wife in every town.
Qui-Gon Jinn can do no wrong.
He was a pirate captain who had a wife at every port, as they say.
It's any port in the storm.
Not unlike a Navy man who has a wife at every port.
No, I just have work wives. And they're men.
And they're men.
And they're men, so.
It's the Navy. When you're underway, it's okay.
YMCA.
So he gets the glaive, and then they start the second quest, right? Jason, like, I think you'll agree, like, this movie is made up of a million quests. Like, this whole movie is just quest after quest after quest.
Not only is it that, but it's like they go to all the biomes you would go to in an RPG video game.
Which I like. I do like that a lot, but at the same time...
That kept me going if this movie... That's the thing that kept me going in Labyrinth and Dark Crystal as well, because I play so many games. I'm just like, okay, this shit's boring, get to the next thing, and it gets to the next thing, and I'm like, ooh, for a little while.
Wow, now it's a swamp.
And I know all the tropes. Swamp. I know all the tropes that are going to happen in a swamp. They're going to have to go through water.
Now it's mountains.
They're going to go through water that's shooting steam up.
Favorite.
They're going to go through some quicksand. They're going to go into a forest. There's probably going to be like some sort of monster that's a plant-based monster.
In the 80s, quicksand was everywhere.
Everywhere.
It was a real
they
problem.
Prepared us for quicksand, and then we find out as adults that scientifically quicksand basically doesn't exist.
It exists.
And it also has never killed anyone.
No, you'll float up to like your waist, maybe if it's deep enough. It's just sand and water.
And also it exists.
You're more likely to drown
in the jungle,
actual swamp.
Yeah,
it's just like
muddy mud?
Water. Mud will suck you down. Yeah.
I've lost boots. They're not coming back.
No,
how many ships you lose?
Probably still there in Prospect.
The point that I was hoping to make was that Lord of the Rings has ruined the travel sequence for any movie before it.
Yeah, I hate
because
Lord
any
of the
movie
Rings
after it
because
has
of the
now
travel
emulated
sequences.
the travel sequences of Lord of the Rings. But this movie, it's like static shots of like a river and then like horses like and it's like meant to be exciting. Like there's like crazy exciting music happening and you're like, they're just fucking walking on the horse. They're not sprinting or anything. And there's no helicopter shots. So
why did they green screen part of that horse galloping ness?
Which part?
Fire mirrors? Because the fire.
Because horses can't fly.
And
no, but there's when they do the close up where it's just like the headshot or whatever.
Oh, because the horses were on a treadmill.
Yeah, but why not just do it practical? Like
it's harder. It's much harder to do. You lock down a camera and you have a person on a treadmill not moving, versus getting a fucking Jeep and strapping a goddamn camera to it, pointing it at a guy on a horse. It's a lot harder. That's why. Yeah.
Steady the camera.
Oh, I made a note at one point where I said he better fight slimes in this. And I was bummed out that he didn't fight slimes, but there was a giant spider, so...
I was just going to say, the giant spider.
The giant spider. It wasn't fought like a boss, though. It was more like you just got to sneak by it and then sneak away from it.
It was more like a puzzle.
Yeah. Use the dust of an elder or wherever the fuck that shit was.
That was so weird.
What was that spider? Was that stop motion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it might have been a puppet, but I think it was stop motion.
It looked like
the weird rickety stop motion.
It looked like Jason and the Argonaut style.
Yeah. Skeleton army.
I'm pretty sure the guy that worked on like the practical effects in this movie, worked on a ton of others. Like he was like a prestige person that they were able to bring in.
It looked awesome. Like the way the spiders like tendrils fucking
legs,
like its legs, but also like its face, like it's.
You mean to say legs or?
You like it because it's Nick Malay and he did Yoda. He did the Cyclops and he did Yoda. Yeah,
the Cyclops was good too. That was some animatronic shit, but like they didn't really have animatronics then. Cam, friend of the show, sent me I watched Killer Clowns from Outer Space recently.
Oh God!
And it holds up. It's a really weird, bad like parody. It's a horror comedy. Is what I learned.
It holds up to what exactly?
Holds up to
what are we comparing that to?
The era, and it's unironically funny and ironically funny. Both hand in hand. But there's a shot where like this clown is supposed to open up one of the candy cocoons to suck blood, and the guy who made the special effects just like went to a store. I was like, what am I going to use to do this? So he got
a drugstore, I think.
It was drugstore, yeah. So he got a crazy straw, because it'd be funny if a clown used a crazy straw to suck the blood out of a cocoon made of cotton candy. And also, he put balloons inside the face to mimic the look of him sucking. So I imagine that like a lot of the practical shit.
He also used a douche to.
He used a douche, yes.
Fill it with liquid to make it look like unfill and fill it to make it look like the thing was going like.
Which is just like ingenuity, right? In 1983, that eye was probably somebody standing behind the actor with a thing blinking it with a button. You know what I mean? Like it was probably just like a pair of scissors that were just making the eye go. So yeah,
you can only really see out of one hole too, so he was tripping all over the place all the time, and they had to help him.
I just assumed he was completely blind.
Yeah,
most of it.
I thought there was holes in the wrinkles.
No, he was pretty much blind. The swamp scene, they actually had to guide him from not falling into the swamp.
They had him on like a rope, like pulling him. He's
this way.
Can we talk about the Cyclops for like one?
Bernard Breslau.
Huge segment of this episode.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So, he starts the quest. They go on to a few quests. He meets up people along the. One of the cool things about each biome is that he sort of meets like a new person to join his cause, and like throughout the movie, he's like gaining more people. It's not like he's just by himself, which is pretty fun and cool. And I like that idea, and that's something that has always made me excited in terms of movies, books, and even video games. Like I think about Mass Effect, the series of Mass Effect, where like you go through the video games and slowly you're building a crew around you, and you have these additional characters that you can talk to and learn their backstories, and you're like, wow, this is great lore building. And that's sort of what they're again attempting to do in this movie.
Not unlike the Prestige RPG series from Japan, made and published by Square Enix, Final Fantasy, which I think.
I was going to say Chrono Trigger.
Oh, you know what? You're right. I forgot
Chrono
that
Trigger's
Mass
a good
Effect
example
completely
as well.
ripped off Final Fantasy.
Or Legend of Legaia, or Legend of Dragoon, or Secret of Mana.
Sorry, I use that as an example because it's very cinematic.
No, and I didn't say this movie predates all of this. This movie predates video games, basically. So that's
but
it has its own game, and it's amazing.
But we meet this Cyclops character, and at first he's sort of a character in the background. He's moving in and amongst the trees, but he's clearly watching them with his one eye. And the Charlie Bucket's teacher, the guy from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, who is confused by Charlie only buying 2 chocolate bars or whatever. I can't remember his whole tale in that movie, but I remember him being like, "Whoa, do the calculations with 2 bars."
He's the comic relief.
Yeah, and he's like a shitty wizard or whatever, right? Like that's kind of what he is. He's like, I'll turn you into a goose, and then he turns himself into a goose. But when you meet the warlock, or sorry, the Cyclops, you don't really learn anything about him except that he's maybe a villain. But like he's so peaceful looking. Every time they show him, he looks like that meme of the guy who's like.
Yeah,
like the wilderness guy.
Woodsman.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, he's like that. So that's like the energy he gives off. And,
Secret bro.
Yeah, so you realize as the audience, like, he's not bad. He's a good guy. He's trying to help. He's trying to help out. That and his actions are proof of that. That he's trying to help.
He reminds me of something from like another fantasy movie with like a race of peaceful
one-eyed creatures,
like Wrath of the Titans.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, the
right?
weird like wood bark people.
Yeah. Well, no, Wrath of the Titans. They go to the island and it's covered in Cyclops. Remember the old Cyclops man? And
right,
chasing
right.
around. Yeah.
But the one thing that, like, once again, I got to keep bringing it back to this because I think this is the one strength of this movie that I think that outweighs everything else, is that they do this weird sort of like lore dump on you that is so intriguing and cool. And it's the story of the Cyclopses, which is that they found a deity and they made a deal with the deity to sacrifice one of their eyes.
Yeah.
And
see the future.
In exchange for one of their eyes, they can see the future. But it was a monkey paw situation where the wish was granted to them, but they could only see one point in the future, and that was the point of their own death, which is like so cool. Because if you really think about that for a minute, you can see the future, you have one eye, okay, that's a shitty deal, but you know exactly when you're gonna die, which would
you can do anything.
But
it would make
if you use it, if you use it, then you have a worse death.
That's true, but it would make you absolutely fearless in combat and battle, because you would know that this is not the time that I'm going to die, and you can just walk through a battle knowing you're not going to die, and you might get injured. Sure, you might get horribly injured, but
it takes us to Black Adam when he says, "I get electrocuted," and he keeps fighting like a champion.
Oh yes, I forgot about the classic movie Black Adam.
Listen, it's gonna
Krull is like an old timey Black Adam.
It's gonna be
like the same movie.
It's gonna be a cult movie. I think people are gonna look back on Black Adam.
What,
fondly.
Black Adam?
Yeah.
30 years from now, The Rock's gonna be Hulk Hogan, and we're gonna talk about him.
Yeah. Hopefully less racist.
But I also went back and looked into actual Greek mythology of Cyclopses to make sure that wasn't like a real thing, and it isn't. That's just something they put into this movie.
Yeah, because they usually shoot lasers out of their fucking laser eye, right?
Yeah, they're like the world of the worlds. Aliens or whatever.
What I was wondering about that backstory and what ends up happening to it, Real is his name? Real.
That sounds familiar.
Rel.
Sorry, Rel.
Listen,
it's like Rel, but with an R.
Rel.
The names in this movie are hard to follow, so we don't have to. We can all forgive each other for not remembering any of them.
Or kill.
That story about his deal. What ends up happening is they get to a point and he's like, I got to stay here. I've seen my own demise, and then he kind of comes in as like comes to save the day when they're trying to break into the Black Fortress, and ultimately gets crushed by the door that they've entered through. Now I'm wondering if he was supposed to die just randomly. He saw the future and was supposed to die randomly, or he knew exactly how these series of events were going to play out, and he was like, I got to stay here because according to the prophecy I stay here, and then he knows his own death, obviously doesn't tell them, but
there are different ways to look at it, because we do know that if you go against how you're supposed to die, you die in a way more horrible way, which he did die in a pretty horrible. He was slowly crushed.
That's why I wondered if he was like, you know what, I'm not gonna die here like some weirdo and have like a fine death. Probably just get a rock.
Yeah, he's like waiting for like a weird wolf with venomous teeth or
all
something.
these random humans are gonna think I'm so cool. Like,
but he got to have
he's an alien.
He got to have a save the day moment, which is much more. Because
the light, the blaster spears just right off of him, right? He's an invincible Cyclops, so.
Yeah. And I interpret it not as he would have a more horrible death, just as the time until he died after he missed his death would be a horrible existence. I think he says
they say
it'll be painful as fuck.
I interpreted it as he was going to
agony. I believe is the word they use.
But I interpreted it as
that's like the worst pain of them all.
You would just have agony until you finally died, and that was part of it. That's just how I interpret it. Anyway.
Well, the good thing about the movie is that it is up to
It's
our
a lot of it's up to interpretation because none of it makes a lot of sense. But it's a fantasy movie, so it doesn't need to.
I do also like
Perfect.
how
What are you
like
talking about?
clearly and like because like you see him at first and you're like, oh, what's this guy gonna sound like? And he's just like, greetings, tidings, I am a Cyclops. Like, oh, he sounds cool. Like I thought he was gonna be like, me Cyclops, you human, or whatever.
Well, he immediately employs the ability of sarcasm on Ergo.
Yeah. Instant jokes.
Yeah, Ergo's like,
Like,
I'm
I'm
not
your best
magnificent.
friend, man.
Magnificent.
He's like, wow,
Oh, I
you're,
see. You're just making fun of me. Let me talk to this kid instead.
yeah, you're magnificent. So,
I didn't think he was making fun of him. I thought he was proactively acknowledging what his title was.
I did also read it like that, but then just the rest of that interaction made me think it wasn't that. So did you?
Yeah.
So what? Like Aaron?
How would you address one who's already a friend?
Yeah. Okay. That's a good point. He does say that, and that is very much like this guy has like the Cyclops has been following them for quite
So
some
you guys
time.
don't know me, but I have been watching you. So I feel like we all know each other already.
I saw what you did to that chicken, Ergo. You turned into it and then fucked yourself. That's crazy.
To eat his own babies.
I also when we were talking about the bandits, there was an interesting thing that has a payoff at the very end. But the leader of the bandits, he's basically like, we're not thieves. We're just a amalgamation of people who've been in prison for various reasons. Because it seems like there's
they're like
oppressive.
Just down on their luck, man. Just down on
they're
their
not
luck.
even like ex-convicts. They're like escaped prisoners.
Yeah.
Like they still have their shackles on.
So they have their shackles, and since John Krull is the king now, I guess, which I never really understood, because he married the princess.
Everyone else is dead.
But it's because the other kings died in that first scene,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
I'm the king now. So he has this thing that has the shackle key to all the shackles in the realm.
Which looks like a tiny Krull.
It looks like a tiny Krull.
I mean Glaive. Sorry.
Yeah.
A tiny Krull Glaive.
This movie is just like Smurfs, but instead of Smurf, they put Krull in everywhere, in my head anyway.
Krullberries.
Krullberries. I'm going to Krull that Krull, and then until she crawls all over my Krull.
My Krungleberries.
That sounds risky.
Yeah, it's risky.
I'm going to be back.
Okay.
Okay.
So he's like, no, I'm done. So he reveals that only the king. So it's a key to the shackles, to all the shackles in the realm. He reveals that only the king and the king's king's hand, basically, I forget what they call it, are able to actually have that key. And he says, I don't want to be unshackled. Like he's not shackled together. Just has shackles on. He's like, I don't want to be unshackled unless we actually defeat the Slayers. And we get a nice scene at the very end where he gives him the key and he's like, you can unshackle yourself now. And he says, well, I kind of want to keep the shackle on to remember this adventure. And he's like, well, you hold on to that. And he's like, wait, but only the king and the fucking king's council? Do you remember what it was called?
King's Court?
It was like
King
the
Arthur's
King's
Court?
Head counselor or something like that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but there was so much stuff going on in this movie in terms of lore that it's like hard to keep track of like the actual names of everything. But
if this movie had been a cultural
saying,
phenomenon, like there would be fucking 8 of these things.
Yeah, we'd be looking
tattoo.
at the like a Krull TV show where like Liam Neeson's character's like grandson is like, now I'm a prisoner too. Shit, I gotta get out and need the Krull blade.
The Krull blade.
How many kids does Liam Neeson have?
You know what my fun idea was of this is that the planet Krull is just a planet in the Star Wars universe. And you know how at the beginning and the end the narrator says, and their son will rule the universe. The way he says rule makes me be like, he's not going to be...
It's not a good thing.
He's not going to be like a beloved ruler. He's going to rule over all of the entire galaxy.
Does this movie take place during like Knights of the Old Republic?
No.
Where the main villains are...
The child that was born of those two people
Anakin?
is Emperor Palpatine.
Holy shit! You just can't.
They are Palpatine's parents.
That's another thing you hate when me and Kaylin do on the show.
Yeah, but this one works.
But this one
so
works.
well. Imagine
It
your
doesn't,
parents
but
had to
only
fight
because
a
I know
big-
the entire Palpatine story.
Imagine your parents had to fight a space swamp thing the size of a castle, and then gave birth to you, and they kept telling you about how swamp things are gonna come get you. Like, you need to use this glaive, and you're like, that's not a glaive, Mom. That's a ninja star.
And then way later, Poe Dameron is like, and then somehow Palpatine came back. I don't know.
He's back.
Came back somehow.
Plot
We don't
armor.
know.
Let's go.
He got Krull powers, and we don't know
So
how he
many
did it.
clones.
Oh my god.
Can we talk about the Goa'uld though, like, and how they just like explode out of the armored shells? Because
that?
Oh
like,
God!
I thought
That's
this
the coolest
movie-
part of this movie.
So,
Yeah,
the
let's talk about
sound,
the
I love the
Slayers. Let's talk
sound.
about
and the
Slayers
blood.
because-
There's so much
Yes.
The Slayers were my favorite part of this movie by far because
So
not only
good.
were they from space hell, which I love. I love a space
Yeah.
hell. Clearly,
Yeah.
blood. Everyone loves space hell. Yeah.
they were little. They were little like blood aliens that just went back into the earth when you killed one of their suits. Their suits looked
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
H.R. Geiger paintings. They
Yeah.
looked very much like the xenomorphs, but like different. Obviously, they looked like armor.
Medieval.
I don't know if you've ever watched played the Destiny video games, but like there's an entire race in Destiny that is clearly inspired
or whatever.
Yeah, they're called. It is something like that. Yeah, but I can't remember.
I played a bit of Destiny. I know what's up.
But like they're almost entirely designed off of like that armor set and just his face and everything. They're like necro monsters that just like use the chitin of dead space creatures to like armor themselves and stuff.
Yeah.
Stargate fans. No Stargate fans. They
We're
are
doing
cool.
Stargate this
Join us
month.
next week.
I'm so
We're
Join us next
we're
week.
trying to not talk about Stargate because we got to talk
I'm
about
sorry.
it later.
Wait, I can't talk about Stargate. Like, I don't know what to do.
Interesting tidbit. I almost gave myself a dope medieval bowl cut for this episode.
But
Oh,
it's
Good.
Imagine Kaylin went to work today in that suit with a dope medieval bowl cut.
You'd look
Wait,
like
I'll go get a bowl and do it right now.
you'd look like Dumb and Dumber if you did that. Like when they show up in the suits after they open the thing with all the money. Sorry.
I owe you a Ferrari. I think it's a Ferrari.
I was told that I was yelling, so I'm gonna take it down.
Sorry, Madison.
Tell Madison I missed her.
This is
and
a
I
little
love
bit of
her.
a higher energy episode. We were all
Tell
yelling
her
a
that
little bit.
she can only bring fire to your water.
She
or something.
Doesn't like it
What?
when I drink fire water very much.
Also, I don't think that fire water is like we're not allowed to say that anymore, are we?
Oh yeah.
What?
I think he was just referencing how they put their hands to take the
that's
fire
exactly.
from the water.
That's exactly what
Right. Okay, never mind.
Whoa. Is there something else with fire water that I don't know about?
I'm sure you do
I-
know about it. that
I don't
you're
want to be the
just
guy to tell it. So.
ignorantly not allowing
FY.
yourself.
Krull.
Fire water is another name for alcohol.
Oh.
And
I think
Because
he
it
knew
makes
that
me
part.
start fires.
I think he knew that part.
in-
Okay.
Okay.
It's sad that Robbie Coltrane died last year. How
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, that is sad.
He was such a good actor. Let's talk about him for a minute. He is not in this movie a ton, but kind of a cutie in this movie with his little stash and his weird little haircut and his stout body. And he was good in almost every movie I've ever seen him in. I can't even think, because he's a character actor, right? He's never in the spotlight, but like he always makes movies better.
Oh, okay.
Does anybody have a favorite Robbie Coltrane?
But he was dubbed over in this movie, so you don't
I
even
know
get to hear him
that's
talk.
yeah, but
So-
so is the Queen, and
Yeah,
she was a
right.
bigger part.
First
Was
of
he?
all,
He wasn't even dubbed over with a. Was he dubbed over with a British accent too?
I don't know. Michael
That's
Elfman.
hilarious if that is the case.
was Robbie
They
Coltrane
got rid of her because it was
in
British.
this the guy?
It was a British actor, yeah.
Was Robbie
Okay.
Coltrane in this the guy who looked like Super Mario?
Yes.
So the funny thing about that, right? So the funny thing about that is I'm watching this whole movie going, fuck man, this guy looks so familiar.
this guy looks like some sort of plumber who,
Nope.
needs to save his girl.
Okay. You cannot tell me that this motherfucker did not look like Mario.
Here he is.
There he is.
May you rest in
he had a
peace.
thick mustache.
He played Grimble Grower or
He played
whatever. Grumble Grower.
No, he played Hagrid.
Hagrid.
The gay one, right?
I have never seen Harry Potter.
But
No,
now
he wasn't
retconned, or is Dumbledore gay?
No, J.K. Rowling loves putting gay men in her books, but will never accept if those gay men ever decide to transition.
Yeah, if they
into
decide to
her.
transition. No. But
J.K. Rowling's line is right here.
Yeah, she's like, I like when men fuck each other, but I do not like the idea of a man deciding
With a
if they're
woman?
man and
No.
woman. Yeah.
it's not even a decision.
Anyway,
it's sort of
Robbie
like
Coltrane played Hagrid. He was good at that, but he was probably my favorite. And my every time I try and say who he is, I say this name, and people are like, "Who?" And I'm like, Valentine.
Goldeneye?
Valentine from Goldeneye.
Yeah,
And they're like,
I knew-
"Who?"
Yeah, I
Like,
got
come
it.
on, he's from Goldeneye.
I got it.
He was in Goldeneye, and he was in From Tomorrow's Next Door to Yesterday, or whatever.
Now, I don't know if you remember the Van Helsing movies, but he plays Mr. Hyde, and he's awesome
Wait,
in the role.
plural? I thought there was just the one Van Helsing movie
with Hugh Jackman.
with Hugh Jackman.
No, yeah. He plays Van Helsing.
Was there more than one?
Well, did I say multiple?
You said
I just...
the Van Helsing.
This is an
movies.
incredibly strong pen, so
Oh, he's Mr. Hyde at the beginning of the movie, but
Yeah.
that's a big CG monster, man.
but it's him.
It's him.
It's him.
So he was swinging from the rafters of Notre Dame.
That was actually not CGI. He just got really, really jacked for that role.
Oh, I
And
see.
fell into a
He
bucket of
figured out how
mutagen.
to uncanny valley his entire body and face.
Yeah. He did great.
He's a
But the
method
eyes,
actor.
still in the eyes.
I lived inside a computer for 40 years to figure out this role.
So I just want to we've been doing a really good job at filling up this time. We are going to go a little bit later
Good, because I didn't have that much to say.
we started later, but I just want to give you guys a time check that I would like to do our
Half
final
hour?
thoughts in about 15 minutes.
Okay.
So if you
I have gone through 3 of my 2 pages of notes.
2 pages.
Yeah, but I don't need to go through all my notes.
Yeah.
I've been kind of going through my notes, but I like jumping around a bit more than going plot, because if we had continued to go plot by the plot, he just came down the mountain with the glaive.
No, I know, and there's too many things that happen. I mean, there's lots of stuff to talk about, like,
The Widow in the
sounds-
Web. I want to talk about her because I love Francesca so much.
Also, isn't that the name of the princess too? Like
They're both Lyssa, she used to be called Lyssa, but then now she's the widow of the Web. Yeah.
So this is like, if like
It's
in
like
the
a
middle
time
of
loop
Star
thing?
Wars they
It's like
decided
it's a common name. It's like Laura, It's just a bunch of-
right, yeah. But like it would be as though like in the middle of Star Wars if they decided to make Obi-Wan
have a love interest.
have
right?
a weird love interest.
Yeah.
He's like, I had your son, Obi-Wan,
And killed him.
fucking killed his ass.
Can you forgive me?
Because you
What
weren't
is-
around, and now I'm a spider queen who eats sand. Like, what the fuck?
Sneaky hot when you take those 23 layers of makeup off.
Yeah.
It's true.
She was pretty hot.
But here's the
That's
thing
hot.
about that kind of
She's 38. When she did that role, that actress was 38. You're
she looked-
38.
we both look good for 38. My hairline
Yeah.
could use some work, but don't look at that. So the
Great
thing-
beard, though. Great beard.
Oh, it's all bearded all the time. So the thing is,
Jason's hair turned upside down.
okay, let's not. You're laughing too hard. The thing about that scene was I fully went like, it's an 80s fantasy movie. She's fully gonna like that makeup's coming off, and she's gonna be revealed to be an attractive younger woman.
80s hot. My favorite.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I
That's
was
my
like,
favorite hot.
It's a little on the
It is.
nose, but also like it's that weird thing of like young is more beautiful, which like is almost uncomfortable by today's standards. Like it was weird. Do you know what I'm getting at here?
But they still do it though. Like you guys watch
That happens all the time.
Midnight Mass and even the Prometheus movies that came out a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
They do the same thing, right? Where like people are obsessed with youth and people are
Not
treated
me.
different. People. Kaylin's obsessed with like, I need the dustiest pussy I ever saw before I get going.
He's gonna teach you something.
Steve is full on like Jason mode in this fucking
Sorry, I'm
episode.
having a great time. No, but the point that I'm making is that like I think in that moment he's like seeing her for what he remembered her as, and he's realizing who she is, and like
I loved her, damn it.
Yeah, he's seeing beyond what she looks like to us
That's
as
fair.
the audience,
That's
being
fair.
like, "Ooh, she's an old woman who lives at the middle of a million spider webs," which is like,
well, they were like young love, so
I
they all
thought
know
that-
each other as they were, right?
or I mean,
Yeah.
young enough that they had a child that she
Murdered.
Killed, but he-
And she
I
literally said,
thought of it as
"You
like a
left,
shallow
so I
house."
had to take my rage out on the child."
which is like that's where I was kind of like liking it, and then that happened, and I was like, oh, okay, this is like.
I thought it was going to be the reveal that they were the parents of John fucking Krull.
That's what I thought too. Yeah, John Krull is actually
John Krull.
his dad who died in his, at that wedding that was going to happen. He was not actually John Krull's dad. He was just some fucking
Uncle Krull.
asshole who
He was
Stolen
adopted a
baby.
He was
spider
Uncle
baby.
Krull.
Yeah, he found a little baby carried by a giant spider, and he was like, "This will be my baby now."
That part lost me so hard. Like, it was so out of place with that whole bit. That felt like in the Avengers movie where where Black Widow and Hawkeye go and start talking about some shit we didn't see. So they were like, remember the fucking
Yeah, like remember Budapest?
Like,
or
no,
whatever?
I don't.
We're gonna get one of those movies in a year or two.
I don't know if we
Oh
are,
yeah, when
dude.
Jeremy Renner grows back another
Oh yeah,
leg.
shit, I forgot about that.
He's
Okay.
fine.
Are they gonna
Small
Also,
snowplow.
didn't they get pissed
Like,
at Scarlet after she wanted money for the Widow for being released on streaming instead of theaters or
Yeah, I
something
don't
like
think we're gonna get any more fucking Black Widow in the MCU.
Well, yeah, that's also a thing where she would have made like millions more dollars if she had been released in theaters. Like that's
Even
get that money, girl. Like,
if they put that movie in theaters,
she doesn't go to work for charity.
If they put that movie in theaters and it didn't do that well, it still would have made money, which is the fucking main thing. It was just because
it was also in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Everybody calm down.
But they didn't put it in theaters at all.
Well, they couldn't because theaters were not
I
open.
know, but when the theaters
Well,
came
Tenet was
back,
in theaters.
God,
I hated that movie so much. But we're not gonna talk about
I
Tenet.
actively hate that movie.
What, Tenet? Oh man, if you only seen it once, you gotta watch it again. It's
Do
so
I?
Well, I'm
good.
glad I
You know,
watched it
and if you've
three
only seen it
total
twice,
times.
you gotta watch it backwards. Put it
Three
in
times,
right.
sure.
Done.
Three
It's-
times.
It'll change your fucking brain.
And also turn up the volume a lot because it's a real quiet movie.
Take DMT and then just watch it.
Hans Zimmer, he'll take you to the moon and back.
Krull.
Let's get back on tracks here.
Yo, how about those all black eyes? That shit was spooky.
Yeah, the changelings.
The changeling. See, that's when I was looking at Ergo and going, "What the fuck is this, guys? He can't be a changeling because canonically,
He's a wizard.
No,
He's a wizard.
yeah, exactly.
He's a wizard. He's king of the Emerald Kingdom or whatever the fuck his cave is called.
Why does he have a little boy with him all the time?
He likes little.
Yeah, that
Insert-
was weird.
He's the only
Insert
people he-
pervert joke
Well,
here.
it's the only person he could relate to fully because he is mentally deranged.
Actually, the way he said, like, the little boy at the end is just like, I have no family now. Like, maybe it was just his grandfather, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a
Yeah.
sweet moment.
Or maybe he was the only one that would be able to emerald eyeball see shit, and he like found
He's
it.
the
Like,
next chosen one.
Yeah, he's
Say one day you'll
So-
be able to talk to the emerald crystals like I do.
I do want to
midi
relate.
chlorians.
Yeah, I do want to relate another video game to this, like clearly inspired by, but the seer, and the green crystal.
Goblin. Sorry.
No, not Spider-Man 2 for PS2, but the Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. The sages in that really reminded me, like they seem like they could have been inspired by the seer in this, and that green crystal looked a lot like. In that game, you have to get the three. You have to beat the first 3 dungeons, and then you go to the Dark World, and the game opens up. But this game or this movie kind of reminded me of, like, a link to the past in a lot of ways, where they went and got like the fire thing and then the green thing and then the mountain thing or whatever, and then they went into like the dark world. And
that was like some Fifth Element shit.
I really wonder if Miyamoto, or not Miyamoto, whoever fucking made Zelda at Nintendo, I can't think of it's like Sakaguchi. No, that's Final Fantasy. I wonder if they were like, that Krull movie, there's a lot to, because this movie's
all right, everybody, so we're making this new game. It's called Zelda. Take a bite of the Krull apple. Everybody come on down, take a bite.
Nobody's seen this. We're gonna repackage it. I'm gonna be rich.
So I got
One guy's like, I got an idea. It's called Din's Fire. You slap it down between your thighs and you create a big blast of fire. Is that Krull-like?
It is,
Krull-like.
because that's
Krull-like.
the
All right,
final
let's
boss.
put it in the game.
The final boss is beaten by just Fire 2.
Did you guys feel that the final battle was like too easy or too short? Or
It's like a modern,
it was
modern day
shit.
final battle. A lot of
The
movies.
power of love solved all the issues.
A lot of
Let's wrap this up, guys.
A lot of MCU final battles are very similar to this final battle. It's
One of the main issues with this movie is that the Beast does not have a proper henchman to
Right.
have them contend with throughout. Every time they run into an issue, it's a random thing that has nothing to do with the Beast, or it's the Beast possessing like or creating a form or something.
They fight the Slayers exactly one time, really, and it's when
they had the Changelings. The Changelings a little. I feel like the Slayers and then Changelings are higher in the hierarchy.
Imagine there was like one Changeling who was
Master
like above.
Changeling.
Yeah, Master Changeling.
Like
he was above all the others,
like a foil.
and he had to keep reporting back to the Beast.
You're right. He doesn't have a number 2. He doesn't have an echo.
He's like, I have them exactly where I want them, my lord. We're bringing them to the Spider Cave, where they will be feasted on by that fucking nasty bitch that lives there. She has the same name as the princess you're trying to rule. And like
That'll
that kind of
throw 'em
stuff.
off.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff would have sort of escalated the power of the Beast, because the Beast seems like he has to deal with his own shit. Like this guy can fly a whole palace through space, but he doesn't have somebody to take care of his clerical business for him.
Minus the Glaive, he's invincible. But the Glaive, it's his kryptonite.
He's like, I'm going to go to this planet. The planet that has the one item that can destroy me. But nothing can destroy me except for the Glaive, so I'm going to go there and get it. All for myself.
I hope that a prince doesn't mate a princess and they combine their
as long as there
blood
are
in
two feuding kingdoms
bound
by
I hope they
fire
don't
and
combine
water,
fire
I'll
and
be all
water
right.
so the prince can become the king and put his hand in molten lava to get the glaive out and then destroy me with it.
And he gets there, and number 2 is like, Mr. Beast, I have some bad news. And he's like, ooh.
He's like, now everybody put your hand on a car, and the last person to pull your hand from the car gets the car. That's a Mr. Beast reference.
Oh.
What about the Pretty Show? Yeah. There was that V-Dub Van, I think.
That did, yeah.
Anyway,
really sucked the air out of the room with the Mr. Beast reference.
Yeah, I thought we were on a good roll until you decided to make it topical. Now this episode is dated, Jason.
It's true.
In 6 months, Mr. Beast is going to be put in jail for being like a sex offender or some shit, and we're going to have to delete this episode.
He's going to Chris Benoit's family and fucking... I'm going to have to take this episode down. I don't know. I don't really have much more to say.
No, I had a question I asked earlier, and it got kind of trampled by our bit that we just ran with for too long.
Kaylin's like, bye.
I can't remember what it was.
I have 20% power left.
Okay, let's take her home soon here.
No. Think of the question.
I don't know. Okay, so how about this then? I'll create a new question. I do truly believe that if the Beast had a henchman that was foiling them the entire time, or turncoating and like dealing with them for a moment,
like
and
a mole?
Dealing with them and then going back and reporting to him, or like even like a Vader style where he comes and fucks shit up for a bit, and then
like a Silver Surfer. but
an
then
upper
maybe he
hand on her.
turns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like anything
Yeah.
like okay, so that's what my question is going to be then. What kind of like number 2 would you like to the beast? Like
Master changeling. Just like a
a
changeling
master
who has
changeling?
like complete control, can change into anything, with all magic.
Like he can like grab a person and like spin in a tornado and then let go of the person, and then there's like 2 of them and he's like, which one's the real one? He wouldn't say that. He would be like, what? No, I'm the real one. Or some shit. And they're like, which one's the real one? Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
Just like that.
Yeah. All right, Kaylin, what's your pick?
What do I want the Beast's number 2 to be?
Yeah, like I think we can all agree that one of the biggest, weakest points of this movie is that he doesn't have like a scary henchman that's like working for him. He's doing it himself. He's like, I'm gonna make your girlfriend not like you anymore by tricking him into kissing somebody, and you're like, what the fuck is this shit? Like,
well, so
murder.
I could have killed you, but I love you this hour.
If they expanded on that girl that was trying to get the prince / new king to cheat on Lyssa, the princess / new queen, if that was like developed a little bit more, that could have been
like instead of being 30 seconds long, it was like,
and then she gets
the
banished
whole movie, maybe
to somewhere, just banished. Yeah.
See, love really does conquer.
I got one.
Yeah.
Since Mario is in their party, I think if Magic Koopa just showed up and just started fucking doing his like triangle, circle, square magic at them and making the fucking floor underneath them turn into like nothing, and then they fell down and had to grab onto a cage and like start climbing around on a cage, I think that'd be pretty rad.
Quick side question, Aaron, you down for Stargate next week?
Yeah. If you'll have me, I'll definitely. I love Stargate. Like too much, it's a problem.
Gentlemen, are you down with that?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I am now.
I'm sweating, so that means I'm having a good
I
time.
actually can't do it.
I'm just kidding.
Realized I have another podcast.
So while you're doing this podcast, somebody messaged you.
That's how quickly he's blowing up.
Yeah.
What? Let me. What were you saying?
People outside the window. So you were actually on another podcast right now?
Yeah, it's like another camera on him, and he's like muting and being like, "So my thoughts on StarCraft." StarCraft.
I have thoughts on StarCraft, though. If you want to talk about StarCraft.
Okay.
So I think that my answer is.
Yeah.
I would have just liked a Darth Vader, like somebody who would come in and fuck shit up, and then like have some sort of interaction with them and threaten them and kill people of some import, lesser import to greater import. Like Liam Neeson gets fucking shot by some random like
they all needlessly die.
Like imagine Liam Neeson.
He had the Jedi rat tail thing. Well, he had 2 of them, but
yeah, he was just a Padawan back then.
Yeah, imagine he got picked up by the guy that has been tormenting them the whole time, and his neck got snapped, and then he got thrown on the ground, or he got stabbed, and then they killed the Darth Vader type character. Like there's so much shit they could have done.
See, I like
they underutilized
the foils in Final Fantasy games are always like sniveling, that they just follow you around and torment you. It'd be cool if like way earlier I thought Liam Neeson's character was going to be way bigger because now he's fucking Earth's Liam Neeson.
He was just some dude.
Was he in Darkman yet at this point?
No. Darkman is like 1989 or 1990. But what happens is maybe he gets shot with one of these beams from a changeling. He becomes the foil, so he like leaves the party.
Ooh.
And then he comes back and starts fucking with them. I think that could have been a cool.
Imagine if the Cyclops was the
That's
foil.
like Willow. The new Willow show is like that.
Spoilers.
No, I agree though, but then that would have been sort of like, what I'm saying is like an imposing, because he's huge, right? Like he's so much taller than everybody else. That would have been cool too.
Oh yeah, well, I didn't know the Cyclops' status, and the only picture I saw him with Liam Neeson, so I didn't know what his deal was going to be anyway.
Anyway, I think that my main point of that question was that this movie was in dire need of some sort of like secondary villain that wasn't just the big bad guy who's like, I bet I could convince you to kiss me if you decide to not want to kiss your husband anymore.
Yeah.
It was so long, and
It was.
he didn't even once kiss her. Like, he couldn't do it. He's like, God damn it! How do I convince her to not
How do I
like
kiss
this guy?
He had just showed up looking like the guy first, without showing his gigantic monster face.
Yeah.
Done.
That's also another issue, is that like they rely too much on the power of love in this movie as like the binding force of like what's going
That's
on.
the power of love.
It was a simpler time with the 80s. Like, you needed the power of love.
This movie came out the same year as Return of the Jedi, the third Star Wars movie.
They were probably in theaters at the same
You know,
time.
you know what love story exists in Star Wars? Han Solo and Princess Leia, two secondary characters who fall in love with each other. They satisfy the love arc while Luke is just
What about Luke
learning to become a cool wizard. That's like that's what you want, right?
There's no one to make him a master. He is not a real master.
And even when he finally pulls his glaive out at the end of this movie, he hucks it at the shell, and it takes like fucking 10 minutes to like saw through it. Like, what the fuck is going on there? Terrible.
Give me a seizure, the flashing light over and over and over and over and over again.
I don't know, man. I can't imagine being a 7-year-old watching that and being excited. I would probably be like distracted by anything else in the room while that's going on.
Prospect's just the woods. So.
Well, you were also 7 in 1992, so like there was other stuff to watch. You just
and even things that were super like palpable for a 7-year-old, I was still distracted. That's fine.
I think that's 80.
Is somebody walking down the stairs?
Yeah.
There is a lot of mental illness on this podcast right now. That said, let's take her home, boyos and joyos.
Before we take her home, Aaron, do you have? I'm not sure if you made notes for this, but is there any hot topics you want to address before we start to wrap things up?
23 sets. The widow of the web is not actually a widow because he's alive. Yeah, no, we're good.
True.
We're good. Yeah.
But were they married?
I don't know, but
maybe she's a widow from
another man. Yeah, the other spider. Yeah.
But I mean, she did kill their son. That's like the biggest.
She's the murderer of the web.
Yeah. He didn't care that much.
He didn't know him. He never met that kid.
For this whole time that I didn't
He's
even
like,
care that
what? And then she's like, here, take this
Oh,
sand.
no. Yeah.
Make sure that the sand doesn't... Oh, that's the question that I was going to ask. How would you take the sand out of the thing? Because you can't let it run through your fingers.
Did he not have any pockets at all? Like, he's just...
Yeah, what about pockets?
Well, I mean, the thing is that would count as running through your fingers, right?
Oh, so you have to hold it the whole time.
Hands in your pockets. How do you climb the web covered in bells? Yeah.
I would probably, because the only thing is that all of it has
Three
to run
Ninjas
out.
reference.
So I would.
No, the webs were covered in bells
Oh,
in the movie.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Jingle, jingle. The spiders
So
come.
as long as you keep one grain of sand, everything's fine.
He's just
You just
like,
put it in your mouth.
Oh, what did
Put it
you
in
do?
your
It
mouth.
has
Stuck
to
under
be
nail.
in your hand. It has to be in your hand, guys.
So
Well, you
get
put
it
your hand
stuck
in your
under
mouth.
nail.
You guys keep being like, I'll put it anywhere else, and it's like, no, it has to remain in your hand.
Just hold
Yeah,
one hand up
your
and
fingernails. Just
Yeah.
like
Oh, the fingernails is a good one actually. I'll buy that.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
My
so-
other question was better than this. Where would you keep the sand?
I'm going to end this podcast, and we're going to do our final thoughts.
All right.
And I'm going to go
You're
first.
in charge.
And I'll tell you
it was
why.
very somber.
My computer is about to die, and if I don't read the thing I wrote
I'll
before
be out
this
of
thing
here.
dies, I'm gonna have no idea what to say. So here we go. This is one of the better old. This is okay.
You're nailing this.
I know I'm the best podcaster in the history of it. This is one of the better old 80s fantasy movies I've seen. I truly think this should have been one of my childhood favorites, along with Ninja Turtles, like I talked about earlier. And I even wrote like I mentioned because I knew I was going to talk about it. This movie really excels with its scenery and locations. I love the Black Fortress. For its era, I can imagine people thinking this is like new and fresh and also plays homage to classic stuff like the original Star Wars and like the Lord of the Rings cartoon. But after we've talked through it, this is like the new Star Wars is in theaters this year, and everybody's like, "This is a ripoff."
I forgot to mention this movie went up against Jaws 3, Superman 3, Star Wars 3, and two separate James Bond movies that were released in the same year.
So it never stood a chance. I can see the inspiration for many franchises here, including how the 2000s Lord of the Rings films were sort of made, Legend of Zelda, some of the Final Fantasy games that would come out shortly after this movie came out. It's weird and good, and I want to watch it again for sure. My only real gripe is that some of the pacing was a little slow, but that's par for the course in a fantasy adventure film. Dark Crystal and Labyrinth are similar with this. Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings movies are also guilty of this 20 years later. Steve, you made a good point about the fucking traveling scenes in adventure movies can be a little bit too much.
8 total, by the way. 8.
It was 8. Okay. It's just a trope of the genre. The special effects.
Well, it also helps implement like time.
That's true. That's true. It works better for the Lord of the Rings movies than it does in a movie like this. They could have cut them down to make the runtime shorter.
When I was 7, I could run to the bathroom, run back, not really miss anything.
This is very much almost like a kids movie with like scary shit in it.
It's like never-ending story scary.
The special effects do look jank by today's standards, but for the time, there's some cool stuff happening. I'm surprised we didn't talk about this, but I'm surprised that we saw a full-on morph from human to animal. It looked kind of bad, but it's interesting that they tried it at least.
It was like 4 different types of special effects.
At the time, it was a big act. It was a big act. They tried their best.
4 to 5. I give it a 4 out of 5. Like I think.
Holy smokes!
Yeah, I think it's a pretty important movie for a lot of reasons.
Success.
And I enjoyed watching it. So like, this is my personal review, right? So it's not like, I'm not going to change it. It's 4 to 5. I also give it a pack of fire mares riding over the plains to the final dungeon and triumphantly beating the slayers to save the princess.
Cool.
We don't clap. Okay.
Let's
podcast.
Take it over to Steve next.
All right. Though a bit of a slog, having never seen it before, Krull, a science fantasy adventure set on another world, dealing with madness and magic, does have more than a few chunks of good that stand out amongst dated pacing and digital effects. I do appreciate the attempt at creating a rich lore, and through it, it succeeds in certain areas. It ultimately has you asking questions regarding logic rather than wanting answers to the mysteries it presents. Not all of the effects are bad, and those effects do give it a sense of charm, and the music heightens the nostalgic feel of a beloved childhood movie, even to a person who hasn't seen it, such as myself. The digital effects are where you feel the age, obvious compositing that happens like a lot of the movie, like over and over again, where you're like, oh my god, I can see the outline around that fucking guy's hair.
Aggressively 80s.
Yeah. And those scenes are meant to bewilder you, but the stuff that you actually enjoy are the practical effects. As I go on to say, while the practical effects leave you curious and excited. Though I felt my eyes getting heavy at times, I do enjoy the movie overall and can see how it holds a special place for those who watched it as kids. I can really say, I can't really say the movie... I can't really... Fuck, I'm sorry. I'm trying to read my thing, and I should just talk. I'm better at talking than reading it. I can't really say much about this movie other than that I can imagine it, if it was in the hands of a younger, less practical filmmaker, it would be better. So what I mean by that is the guy who made this movie was very old, and he made one of the greatest car chases ever made, Bullet. It's been parodied in countless other films. In The Simpsons when he's chasing the car and the cars keep going like that's from the movie Bullet. Like, it's a very good movie, but this man decided, you know what? In my old age, I'm going to make a fantasy film like these young, crazy characters like Lucas and Spielberg and what's his name? Ridley Scott? And like he tried to make one and he just shot it like a fucking detective film. And you're like, no. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like any movie that has like an Errol Flynn rope swing within the first like 10 minutes of the movie, you're like, oh, an old man made this. And that happens within the first 10 minutes of the movie. The movie may have been more captivating if it was made by a younger person. It's not a bad movie, but it feels its age. Like it really does. It looks old. It feels old. Even the music, like as much as you can hear those musical notes of Horner from like Aliens and his later work, you can also feel the influence from earlier work where it's just like basic ass like musical bullshit. I think what I'm going to give this movie is the ranking of Glaive. If Glaive meant a starfish with blades on its tips, but that's not what Glaive means. So it's not truly a Glaive. It's just a starfish in Glaive's clothing. That's my ranking.
All right. Fantastic. That was comprehensive as fuck. Let's do Kaylin next, and we'll end it out with Aaron, and then we'll all go to bed because it's very late. Even
not me. I'm gonna play video games, and watch movies.
Age is 12:30. Go to bed.
I couldn't find the words. I couldn't find the words to write a final thought to this. It had elements that made me feel like I should like this, and for some reason, it just didn't do it for me. I feel part of that could be the fact that I don't have the nostalgia to it. I would assume it's kind of the main factor. I always find it interesting, though, when a movie has elements that I like, but I just don't like the movie for some reason. I can't put my finger on why. It was fine. I'm glad that you brought it to the table, Aaron. I've never heard of it, so I got to see it. I got to see something I've never seen before. I enjoyed moments. It was long. Like, I don't have a problem with long movies, but this movie was longer than I think it needed to be. I really liked the quicksand scene. That was probably my favorite scene. At the end of the day, I give it I want to go watch Princess Bride.
Okay, yeah, I want to go.
That's fair as fuck. This movie is like not as great Princess Bride for sure.
Yeah, even the Aldo Montoya character looks like John Krull. Kind of.
He does, yeah, he does actually.
Yeah.
They wear the same clothes.
He just doesn't have the Zorro thing on his face,
and he doesn't have a cool backstory. He's just like,
I don't like the stripes on
his handsome young man who will be the father of the ruler of the galaxy.
His cheekbones are too big or something. He's like classically handsome.
One
but
thing
like
I kept
too
thinking
much.
was he kind of looks like a Benjamin Cumberbatch, like or what
Benedict.
Yes,
he looks like Freneling Conky.
He looks like Bingy Bong Bunger Butt, but. He does. He does.
Kurt Russell mixed with Kenneth Branagh.
Oh yeah.
What was the second name?
Kenneth Branagh.
Or Branagh? How do you say it?
Kenneth
Branagh. I think.
Yeah.
I think we're all saying it differently, but it all sounds the same, so it's fine.
Quebec.
He directed Thor 1.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Aaron, why don't you take us the fuck home?
Grace us.
Tell us about the Krull video game.
Here it is.
Yeah.
It's for
Holy
Atari.
Shit.
Yeah, it's for Atari. I didn't write anything down. I know it's. I watched it too many times when I was young, so I didn't know that you'd be judging it. I think that you should watch Ice Pirates.
I've seen Ice Pirates.
There we go. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one? Ice Pirates.
Okay, in lieu of not really having a final thought,
Freestyle.
can you give it what's the gameplay loop for the Krull game?
Oh god.
Oh, I don't remember.
The princess is in another Krull tower.
Is it a side scroller or is it like
I think it's actually I might even have another one of these. I don't remember too much about the game. It was for Atari. I'm not that old, but
How about this? If you were going to pitch this movie to someone who's never seen it, what would you tell them?
it's a space opera written by a dude who liked to write, terrible old British movies.
Yeah. That was like one thing that I wanted to say is that the guy who was in charge of writing this movie was mostly doing television, and you can tell because it's broken up into like 14 different episodes of a television
It's episodes.
show.
It is
I
episodes.
actually now that I think about it, it was kind of like that. Like, here's the episode where they go to the swamp. Here's the episode where they fucking break in.
Yeah,
here's the episode,
Spider Queen. Yeah.
here's the episode where like the guys get stuck by those fucking pointy bits, and one guy dies, but the rest of them are fine.
I definitely had this like taped onto one of my like many mixtape cassette tapes, and it was watched over and over again pointlessly.
Like
So
a VHS collection of just all taped from TV. Like I had the
Yeah,
Phantom
yeah.
of the Opera musical taped from TV. That
Nice.
went
You guys
into-
can put more than one movie on a VHS. Back in
Yeah,
the day,
I did. I had a bunch.
Yeah,
Mixtapes,
I have
yeah.
a bunch of pirated VHS
I had-
movies. I ended up buying them, but like I have like 3 movies on one movie. I'm like, WTF movie people?
Yeah, I had the whole It miniseries on one of those like double VHSs.
Oh,
Thick
yeah.
boys. Yeah, the thick one.
Yeah. So anyway, that's our show. Aaron, thank you for being
Oh, wait,
here.
MPAA
Oh,
26,795.
nice. Thank you. We do the MPAA number because
Good.
things that people like to listen to.
Kaylin, did you do your buy, skip, rent, or whatever?
So personally, it's a pass. At the very least, I'll
That makes
say
sense,
it's
yeah.
like give it a watch.
You've never given anything a pass.
I've never given anything. I'm a very, very
We've been doing this podcast for like total since like 2019.
This is his first pass. He's like,
And you've
fuck
been like-
Krull, get it out, send it to space.
And you're like, yeah, give it a shot. And you're like, pass.
Ow. A little bit. My nostalgia.
like. See, that's the thing.
childhood.
I don't like. I feel bad. Like I don't want to hurt your feelings, Aaron.
Yeah.
You
But welcome
did,
to-
Cage. You did.
Welcome to Hey Did You See This One, where we're not going to sugarcoat it, and even if the guest loves the movie.
Well, I have a bunch more movies that you will like more. So
Sweet.
Yo, join us next week, please,
yeah,
if
please,
you will.
Let's
I'll
talk
check.
about
I'll check
that.
my calendar. Yeah.
If you too many podcasts,
I'm gonna wear normal clothes
been knocking
like-
down your door.
until next month. This time next month. No, probably the 20th of next month.
Okay. So for Aaron,
Whoa. Oh yeah, okay.
for Aaron, see, I invented this, so I know how to do it. For Aaron and for Kaylin and for Steven, I'm Jason.
For Jason, for Kaylin, and for Aaron, I am Steven.
For Steven, Jason, and Aaron, I'm Kellen.
For Jason, Steven, and Kaylin, I'm Aaron.
Wow. And I have to ask one question that everybody has on their mind, and that is, hey, did you see this one?
Sweet, I'm back. Okay, here we go. Hey,
Hey, did you-
this one.
Hey, did you see this one?
I
No.
only have 10% battery.
Aaron, give us one.
Hey, did you see this one?
Ooh, that's a nice one.
Mm.
Aaron, love ya, miss ya. Yes, we should.
Wait, you guys know
hang
each
out.
other? Oh no, I shouldn't have said all those crazy things about Kaylin before he arrived.
Yes, Cajun sauce. We'll talk.
Cajun sauce. That's a good one. All right.
Yo, what's that Cajun mayo called? Chipotle mayo.